Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to, Rebecca's popping in. Welcome to our session with Rebecca Wenrich Wheeler. We're so excited to have you guys. And I just cut off that loop. I was listening to the music on Tish's write in. I want to give a special shout out to Tish Bouvier for hosting two write ins for us today at the WWJ conference. This was our first opportunity to have community write ins and absolutely loved the time spent working on business today, Tish. So thanks for that. So now we've got Becca. She's working on her mic. I can see it all working behind the scenes. So I'm saying like prayers that's going to magically appear. Until it does, I want to give a special shout out to Rachel Clark. She's excited to listen in today. Rachel, your idea generation, perfect for us. Oh, Becca, can you talk?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but we can't see you.
And I have no idea why.
Well,
So,
this is just lovely. And
yeah, it's
Stephanie, I'm sure you can relate because Stephanie, the other night when we were doing the launch, Stephanie Cotta is one of our monarchs, the Conjurer's Curse. Look at this beauty, Rowan. Um, she had that same thing. So Stephanie used her phone for the whole. Oh, there's your picture.
yeah, I figured out that would be better than nothing.
Oh, and it's like vibrating, like you're on some kind of like spaceship every time
I
you talk.
know. Well, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, so I apologize. I have because when I hit start cam, it does this,
How dare it?
but my camera light is on my computer. It's on. So,
Yeah, if you want to just play around with it while we're talking, and if you want to just pop in and say hey to people on your phone, you could try to see if you can click on that same link through our
okay.
email, and then we can have you like three screens and see if it works. Oh yeah, there's our Tish. Tish is in the audience. Make sure your camera is the same as StreamYard, giving it that permission. Yeah, Stephanie did the same thing. Yeah,
But I've used it before. That's what I don't understand.
well, we were having tech issues with Jaden at the very beginning. And I was like, Jaden, what's the estimate of how many times you've used StreamYard? And he was like, at least 60 times because he's doing podcast, he's doing lives, and the Google Doc, it just wasn't working. It was spinning. It was like, wow. And then it worked. So we said if it's a setback, it's just helping us for the set up. So
Yeah.
that's from the keynote speaking today, guys. Shelly's here. She said, hey, Becca and
Hey,
Jen.
Shelly.
So Becca and I are hanging out with you guys today for a Q&A.
And
And
you miss all my facial expressions I tend to make. So that's the unfortunate thing.
and Tish said, at least we can hear you, Rebecca.
I
Yeah.
know. This is true. That's really the key. Okay, let me try to pull it up on my phone. I don't even know.
So when you think about in your future setting up events, okay, like in your author world, getting your author friends together, like you see all of us today, supporting one another, celebrating each other's successes, you can't have stress around an event. Yeah, you, especially if it comes to tech, because we know that things can happen in the world. We're just going to keep moving. We're going to keep going. And we're going to share what's meant to be said today, regardless of how that all can seem to the audiences. It's a true thing. And look, there is the one and only Rebecca Wheeler in our life. Rebecca, I see you, but I can't hear you now. She said, 1 second. There's the facial expressions. She's she's pulling it off very well. So today it was just our opportunity to meet with you guys and talk about Becca's publishing journey. We're going to ask questions. Go, Becca.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
It must just not like my computer. So, okay, there you go.
So
All right.
we are so happy to see you, Becca.
The only problem is you see this my ceiling fan, it makes me feel like I'm going into like the ether, the way it spins around. Okay. There we go.
Okay. Yay. So welcome everybody to the chat. I love seeing you guys here today. So Becca, got to talk about your journey because Shelly Mack, we've got people in the audience that write children's books. You've got YA. You're a blogger. You've got poetry. You are just phenomenal in all of your lanes. Where did you begin? We got to hear where you began in your lane. I've asked that question today because you've got so many.
I guess second grade. To be honest, so like when I was a kid, like the only, and I've been in education, and I think it's terrible we ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because, it's hard to make that when you're 7. But the only thing I knew to be true about myself when I was probably a kid through high school was that I was going to write a book. I didn't know how that was going to happen, but I knew that was going to happen. If you asked me what I wanted to be like for a job, that would switch. So, I mean, like the time I wanted to be a secret agent spy or a lawyer or, like things that are not necessarily realistic. But I didn't know what to say because all I knew was I wanted to write books. And so, like, the rest of it was just like, okay, now what I'm going to do to make money in order to be able to write books, because I have a lot of illustrator friends as well. And I have a good friend of mine from college who studied opera. And we were talking about this, like all the people in the creative worlds, whether that's music or writing or art or whatever it is, unfortunately, you have to have a regular job to support yourself before you can do all the creative things. So I think, I don't know if I'm the only one who's had that experience, but I feel like, see. I do watch a lot of secret agent spy shows, so maybe like that's my way to do it. I don't know. But Inspector Gadget, that kind of dates myself, but I love that show. Do you mind watch Inspector Gadget?
Me.
Okay. All right.
Love all of the gadgets, the arm going out. It's like I wanted his belt, like for real.
Yeah. So that's really where I started. So I have I went to college and have a degree in English, and I also have a master's degree in English. There's my son. Can you say hi, Xander? Okay. And so I wrote a lot in college, mainly poetry. Is where I kind of started. So I love the fluidity of poetry. I love all the double entendres and everything. Yeah, you're eating a cookie. And I was totally, that's really where I started. But I've been writing consistently for 20 years. And I had a little dry spell when I was in one particular job that I just didn't have the time and the creative juices to do it. But I think that's really the key. It's just even though most of the stuff in your computer will never be seen by another soul, every time you write something new, you learn something new, like a new way to describe something, or a new way. Someone else loves the camera. A new way to describe something, or a new way to work with a character. So even if, don't worry that you've got 10 things that you never would show anyone. That's fine. Okay. And then out of all of those things, you can figure out which one's going to fly.
Speaking of all of the sound effects here, all of the ones, for real. Future writer there. He's already coming up with his onomatopoeia. Mm-hmm. He can say sound for things. So with your life, work, family, all of the things you've got going on. You've got author sign-ins. You were just at yoga, so you're teaching that too. So talk about how yoga has inspired you.
Well, I've been a yoga instructor. Well, actually, I've been going to practicing yoga as long as I've been writing. So I've been practicing yoga probably 20 years, I guess. I have been a yoga teacher since 2011. And I did my ice cream, he says. So he's trying to give Jen some ice cream through the camera.
Thank you.
So look. So I'm teaching since 2011. So both of my picture books, the one that's out now that came out in November, and then the one that's coming out in the spring of 2023, mix children learning about nature and also yoga. So the first one, when Daddy shows me the sky, is about astronomy and yoga, and they fit really well together, like poses in the sky. Thank you, Rachel. And then the second one is called When Mama Grows With Me, and it's about gardening and combines gardening and yoga. So if you do follow me on Instagram, you know I'm kind of obsessed with my yard. So the frog is in the book. Yes. So if you follow on Instagram, we have 2 frogs that live in our watering can that have been with us for months, and they're still with us. So they did make the book, the second picture book. But I got this mate. Now you're taking pictures.
Love it. Oh, yes. In the middle of one of the sessions earlier, Sam sent me a text and said, "I want to give you a hug." And I'm like, "Oh yes." Like, he's 15. Like, come in, hugs. Let's go. Like, so this is just a great testament of how ice cream, writing, and all the things that we have going on. And I loved what Jaden said earlier about that when we write, we're writing not just for our kids, but for our families. And for those that are going to hear our words for the future generation. So absolutely love it. He's a for that camera.
He is trying to give you ice cream again.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, does he have a favorite book that he likes to read over and over?
It switches. Like, we'll go from the same book for like a month, and then it switches. So currently, he is on the little blue truck books.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he particularly loves the Halloween book that we read in the middle of the summer. So, yeah, so we'll probably in a month he'll pick, but we read all of them, like all 4 that we have. And then before that, he was reading all the Sandra Boynton books with the pigs.
Oh yes. And is that Ella over there?
Yeah, she's here too.
Ella's arm.
Yeah.
Hey, Ella's arm.
They've all joined in. But yeah, he was into that one. And so who knows what next month it will be.
So Shelley is also a children's book author. So we've got to give a special shout out to Shelley, Rachel Clark, for the big old bike. That'll be soon for you guys to read together as a family. Oh, get cookies. There we go.
Hey, I'm not above bribery. Says he's getting him a cookie.
So speaking of your transition here with Whispering Through Water, like now it's YA world plus the new book coming back for book 2 for your children's world. So talk a little bit about your YA.
So actually, well, that's what I was working on first before the picture books. I actually wrote, some of you, if you've read my blog, I wrote everything. Okay, Rachel, I will look at yes, he does love his bike. We do like our red bike, so I will check that out. So I finished the first initial draft in 2013. And so this kind of, so the book, I guess now, if it's the 90s is considered historical fiction. I guess we're there. And I realized when I was in high school, we were reading about the 60s and called it historical fiction. So I guess that's where we are. But so
Wow.
I finished in 20.
Let's sit in for a minute. Yesterday, Sam said vintage, and he called it the 80s. And I'm like, that vintage? What?
Yes.
No, that's my place. Like, no, boy, no.
So when I finished in 2013, an editor did read it, and her comment back was, at this time, no one wants to read about the 90s. And I was thinking about it is, well, I mean, I guess it was too close. There wasn't as much of a, I don't know, environmental difference maybe. And so I was like, well, maybe it just needs some time. So I let it sit. And I don't want to give away the plot and all that, but it's based around some historical events. So it had to be set then. Like there was no other, like I couldn't move it at that time to the early 2000s, because then the timeline would make sense. And then the historical piece it'd be pointless. Right. So I said, well, maybe I'll just let it sit. And then that's what I did. So I just let it sit. And then all of a sudden it seemed very historically appropriate to do it now. So here it is. And so I think it's just one of those things that sometimes what you write at the time, that it's not that the writing isn't you don't have something to say. It's just not the right time for it yet. And you need to sit on it. So did you hear that from people all the time? I wrote this draft 20 years ago, or I wrote this draft, for me, it was 10 years ago. And then all of a sudden time passes and it's relevant. So
just like this that I have, you guys don't know this pain, but this was the printed version of Sweet Potato. When back in the day, when you queried an agent, and they asked for a full, you had to do all like legit tons of postage and sending out manuscripts was this way for Sweet Potato Jones. So when you
I'll tell you something.
Book and holding it,
this is how I knew it was okay. It was time. So in 2018. I was in DC because my daughter was doing camp. We used to live there. My daughter was at camp in the DC Zoo at the Smithsonian. And so I was hanging out during the day, went into one of my favorite bookstores up there, Kramer's Books. And I picked up this book called The Idiot, right? Guess when it was set? 1998. And I thought, well, it was a Pulitzer Prize finalist. I said, somebody must be wanting to read about the 90s now. So like maybe it's time I pull this back out. So it's a very interestingly crafted book, but lots of 90s references, even to Snackwell's cookies, if y'all remember those. So it's about a girl who's a college freshman in 1998. And so I thought, well, I guess it's time to bust this out again. So this was actually the book that got it out again, ironically. So.
And so, Gwen, how much when you went back in to visit her, did she stay the same? Did you do a lot of updating? You got a new round of betas and critique partners. How did that experience go, like that second time around after you had been far removed from it?
The main characters stayed the same, but some of the ancillary characters are the ones who changed, who I shifted more. So, and then I think because it was further away from the historical context, I added, and you know this too, I added more more 90s references in there to give it that historical setting. So actually the main character stayed pretty much the same. But a lot of the ancillary characters, they were made them a little more dynamic than they were the first go round. So yeah, so that did change. The setting did not. I grew up in a very small town in the Tidewater area of Virginia. It's a peninsula. It's population. It's like 6 square miles, I think. I looked it up just the other day. It's 6 square miles on a peninsula, so that's one land exit, if you know what your geography. And then 3,000 people live there. So that's where I grew up. Pretty. It was an interesting way to grow up. So that it was the backdrop because it was very vivid in my head, and it's a very specific kind of place to live and grow up that way. Being surrounded by water everywhere. Literally everywhere you look, you can't you can't miss it. So but that was the backdrop setting, and that also did not change.
And
But
whispering through water.
yeah,
Love-
I mean,
there is a line there that I love within the book, but yeah, love
yeah,
the title.
but and I know so now I live in North Carolina, a little more landlocked in the central part of the state, and I don't think I realized how much water was just a part of my everyday life until I moved here. It was just there. It was always there. I mean, every day. So I think it just, those natural elements just creep in because that was just part of it. So that's a great question. And actually, the original inspiration for the book, and I did put this was on my blog too, and it's also in the back author's notes. So you would have it. The book's over there in that bookshelf, so I won't go grab it. So I'm gonna link it. But I listened to an interview on NPR, which is how most, I don't know, a lot of my ideas start. An interview of an author on NPR, Ann Fessler, and she wrote a case study book about women, young adult women. I don't want to give too much away from the plot, but young adult women between 1940 and 1970-ish. And her interview, and then I went out and bought that book, and the book is very gripping. That I was thinking about all these case studies and these women in these books, and I remembered stories my mom had told me, and I was like, that would make an interesting character. And a lot of these women, I mean, their stories were never told, and so that's part of it. I can, even though this is obviously a work of fiction, but if some of these women can have their stories told, or we start paying attention to looking for their stories, and that might make a difference. So that's actually where I started. So that was kind of the original research. And then as it went through, there were some other things I just needed to look up. So like as it came up, I had to research some things about the Vietnam War and so it kind of, as it came up, I did research. So it's hard to like quantify how much, but it actually started with a nonfiction ancillary text and then came up from there. So, but that book is pretty, I don't know, that it's one of those books that I couldn't read all at once because it's heavy. Like I would have to read pieces and pieces, but it's definitely worth it. So, and
She said she loves the title of your book that's coming February 4th. It's right around the corner, Becca.
Yeah, and that title never changed either. The title has always stayed. Like I knew that was the title from the beginning. So, I think with starting with, I love historical fiction. I like reading it. That's probably my favorite genre to read too, and just being able to tell people stories that you wouldn't hear. Like I like the regular people historical fiction stories, not the kings and queens and all that stuff, but like I love Lisa C. I don't know if you've read any of her books. Snowflower and the Secret Fan is one of my favorite books, but I like reading about historical events in terms of what the regular people what's happening, because I think it does help build empathy and like understanding, from different points of view. So I'm looking up in my shelf. Like I'm kind of obsessive with it, but everything's categorized.
Oh, you have one of those kind of bookshelves?
Yes.
Oh,
so I've
you
got
want to see mine then. It would be like this to my bookshelf.
So all of the, now my fantasy section is not as large because that's not as much of I think, but I do have that. And then my classic children's books, Then I've got the
Oh,
philosophy
wait,
book.
you have a special classic children's book section that you've created with your bookshelf. I remember seeing that on social media.
Yes, I told you, and I've got my philosophy books for one section. So yes, I am one of those people.
So talk about classic children's books too. What's your special? I know it.
Well, I will show you. You want to see something cool? These were my dad's from the 40s. So this is the original Winnie the Pooh. What the original Winnie the Pooh looks like.
Yes.
So these were my dad's. Nobody touches these but me.
No cookie hands, huh?
No cookie hands or ice cream. This is the original 12 Days of Christmas. So I'm like, and then I've got, so this is another, this is not, it's written by the same Winnie the Pooh, but so these, I love rare books. I do. So there is a reference in Whispering Through Water. So the uncle owns a rare bookshop, and hold on one sec. I can show you. This is cool. Wait, right here.
You see how things about life just end up being like so lovely in books.
So I bought this book when I was in Scotland, Shelley. So I love Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and there's a reference to a rare edition of Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Here it is. So this is that I bought from this rare bookshop. And the cool thing, this is like a little surprise, but I have no idea when this ticket, but somebody who owned this book had a ticket to the Knox house. It was like a 6-pence admission. So I know that's not today, but it was like inside the book. So it stays in here. But it's like an 18.
The best bookmark ever find right there.
Yeah, it's like, was it? Yeah, 1898. So I love this stuff. So I looked for things. So there's a reference to that. Anybody's read Rime of the Ancient Mariner, there's an albatross around the neck. So when you read the book, there's lots of symbolism. So I was an English teacher originally. So I can't help it. But so I had to show you that. But when I go back to Scotland, I'll be hitting up this same. Oh, I love Scotland. I've been like 2 or 3 times. Love it. I will go back and I will find this bookshop again, and we will. But anyway, did you have any other questions? I got off on a tangent.
No, you did it, because that's a good point for Ruth and some of the people in the audience that are going, so how much does an author's experience or loves kind of trickle down? And you said you love stories of people, hearing their voices, and now you're sharing their untold voices. You can see that pattern there in your life of honoring and uplifting the things that you love. Yoga and children's books, astronomy and gardening. I mean, you've got a pattern here of love life, live it with joy, laugh in the midst of ice cream sharing across the screen, and just embrace all of it. Like, that's your, I got your vibe. And Shelly's like, you can come for dinner. Like,
I'll be happy to. Yeah, my husband, well, he is Scotch Irish, and he would be happy to go back anytime. So, but I think the adage, write what you know, is very accurate, because you have to write from a place that you can understand fully. And I was thinking about like the setting of of Whispering Through Water. That's not a setting that most people would think of. I mean, I was just immersed in it, so I can write about it from that place. Like, but I think write what you know helps you be genuine and authentic, and writing from that space, and trying not to be somebody you're not. Because that's, I think, where people mess up, is when you aren't writing from a place where it's genuine.
I'm a small town girl, and my books are small town living, small town life. Fictional towns across North Carolina. Try to stay, kind of within my region. because that's just a place that I love. It's like an extension of myself, and it's hard to push myself outside of that space because that is what I've known for 47 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's kind of embedded in me, and it just comes out and makes perfect sense to write about small town. And I love it, and I find joy in that. So it's 2:15. What happened? Wow, the time.
Well, I hope you enjoyed your ice cream.
I did. It was lovely. I'm making it grape ice cream because from where I'm from, we get grape ice cream every 4th of July. So I was imagining grape right then.
Wow.
Yep. So everybody just wave at Rebecca Wheeler again. I love how you put again.
Yeah.
And follow her out on Instagram. Follow her. Check out what she's up to. Check out the garden, the frogs, the book releases, the places where she's going. I'm just so excited, Becca, for Whispering Through Water. It's in that ARC review stage right now. We've got it out for trade reviews. It's such an amazing time. And Shelly says, lovely to see you, girls. Lovely to see you. Shelly's coming this afternoon at 4:30.
Okay.
So right now we're taking a break. So that means do some maybe a yoga pose, a yoga stretch. You want to give us one that could be easy to do?
Or you could go eat ice cream too.
Oh, you could do that, or you could be like Pooja would tell us to go hydrate, get plenty more water.
Well,
So
one of the big things that's important, like my daughter now is flailing her arms in my shoulder. The important for writers or anybody who uses computer a lot is having proper posture. Okay, so and if you're aligned, it really helps, and it starts with keeping both feet on the floor.
she caught me. I was sitting on my bed.
Because if you have your legs crossed, then your hips are like this, right? So we want to have both feet on the floor. Everybody wants you to sit up nice and tall. Relax your shoulder. See the difference already? Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, well, I know I do this, I have to stop myself, is clenching my jaw. So relaxing
touching everything I'm doing, like right now in the past minute.
I know. I tell this to my teachers at school, and they're like, "How'd you know?" I'm like, "Because I just know." So relax your jaw, and so just sitting up this way will help your alignment. But one thing I don't know if you can really see me, but I can describe it. So if you can kind of scoot, so you're at the end of your chair, like towards the end of your seat, and then take your hands and grab the base of your chair. You can really draw your shoulder blades together and drop your shoulder blades down so you get a stretch in your upper back and in your chest.
Nice.
You feel that?
Yes. We needed this as we're going out on our break. She's just like, I know, right? She got it. I need that. Yep.
So both feet on the floor, Jen.
Yeah, they're there. They're there now. I can't show you. I'm in pajamas and socks. They're on the floor, though.
Okay. I have no shoes on. But
so guys, thanks again for Rebecca Wheeler. We love you, Becca.
Nice to see everybody. Well, see everybody.
Bye. And tell the kids we said hello and thanks for their cameo appearances. It was very special.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye, guys.